When Congress passed the Equal Pay Act of 1963, the pay equality gap between a man and a woman's wages narrowed. Over 50 years later, more still needs to be done, as women who work full-time earn on average 78 cents per every dollar a man earns. Let's close the pay equality gap now. What is the issue and why is it important? Women are still being underpaid for working the same job as a man. That is not only important to fix because women and men in the workplace are legally protected, ensuring equal pay. But more and more families depend on the women's wages to make ends meet than ever before.
The face of our workforce has actually changed. Increasingly, it's women who are the primary breadwinners for their families. Women are the primary income earners for a growing share of homes all across America. In 1960, only 11% of families in America with children under 18 relied on their mothers as sole or primary breadwinners. That was just 11%. Today, that number is 40%. 40% of families with children under the age of 18 rely on women to pay the bills, make ends meet, balance the family finances, and actually provide for their children and the food on their table.
To understand and appreciate what has been done, let's look to the past for some historical perspective. During the early years of the United States, women were paid for working outside the home. Not many women, however, worked outside the home, as paid work was more socially accepted as man's role in society. In 1944, U.S. Representative Winifred Stanley proposed the first bill to amend the National Labor Relations Act to end gender wage discrimination. Although the bill expired after it was referred to the Committee on Labor, the groundwork was laid to move forward. With the advent of World War II in the 1940s, this began to change drastically. As women replaced men in the workforce after the war, many more women entered the workforce, and the equality gap grew and was there for all to see. Even up until 1963, women were making 59% of what men were earning in a two-tiered scale for the exact same job. In 1950, U.S. Representative Catherine St. George negotiated a compromise bill that would also permit the passage of Equal Rights Amendment. This bill also failed, but St. George, who coined the phrase equal pay for equal work, was persisted and proposed a work bill in 1959 that called for equal pay for comparable work. Although this bill did not pass immediately, the substance of her proposed bill held up under political scrutiny and ultimately found itself a part of the Equal Pay Act of 1963. On June 10, 1963, history was made when President John F. Kennedy signed the Equal Pay Act. This new law now prohibited pay discrimination based on sex and stated that men and women must be paid equally for substantially equal work performed in the same establishment. Wow. Oh my goodness. Since 1963, other legislation has been introduced to protect workers' rights and close the pay equality gap. These include Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Age Discrimination in Employment Act of 1967, and Title I of the Americans with Disability Act of 1990.